Alright, it is a Thursday, 9:26 a.m., October the 28th, 21, and this is the main washes, although it's not, not everything here I'm going to be looking at closely. I might remove HMBL, at least for the time being, because it's like way at the end of its move, and it's not really showing that I can try to do something new. So I'll probably be removing this one, but I will be looking at morning panic bounce plays, of course, because that's what I think I know best. WSRC, this one can continue some kind of a run up if it does something with VWAP putting up higher lows or something clean like that. I might consider that for a setup. BTZI, it's just going to be a watch, really. Maybe it can do something nice, maybe not. I don't like how it doesn't trade with decent volume. And IND, this one is also nice because it could try to make a new move, but it does have probably resistance from people holding the stock for much longer. So yeah, they're not really ideal, either of these, but they can do something nice, continue an uptrend, maybe try to do a second move. That could be pretty impressive. And on the other watch lists, I will be looking at if anything is having the morning panic and it looks clean, I'm going to consider that as well. And hopefully, unlike yesterday, I don't hesitate on one that works out. And like the day before, I actually maybe trade it, sure, but I gotta trade the ones that work and don't work out. It's not an exact science. It's impossible to tell if a morning panic bounce play is gonna work or not. I just have to try all of them as long as it looks clean. Alright, it is 9:50 and I just want to make a quick update. INND is nice because it did break out of this 143 level. It's trying to make a nice move towards the upside. This is a potential second day. If it could do something off of VWAP, that would be pretty cool. Hopefully this isn't like the kind of stock that just keeps going straight up and I just feel like I missed out on a nice move. But it is trying to make more moves towards the upside. It does have resistance from this previous run up, but this one is looking nice. WSRC, this one can turn around at some point. I don't think, that might have been the last traded price, but I never traded this one for a morning panic bounce play because of how choppy it was looking back here and Wiki. Just imagine looking through all of this price action live, how weird the entire thing was. So it kind of just scared me out of it. I didn't necessarily want to trade it. It is trying to turn around, and it's also a little sketchy because it's only been up one day. Ideally, for a setup like this, it can be it should be at least up 3 nice consistent green days, but we haven't been really having that recently. This one can totally turn around, but you see, I just don't want to trade it because of the way it's trading, and it does kind of have a large spread sometimes, but that's no reason why it can't uptrend. I just don't want to be a part of that. I don't want to like hit the ask on something like that and then it downtrends, and then because of that wide spread, I have to sell at the bid for a lot more than what I would want it to if it traded more volume or just a little less choppy. So yeah, I'll keep looking at INND, and that's what I have for right now. Alright, it is 10:12 a.m. and I traded a super tiny position. I like the percent gain. The amount I actually made was tiny because of the $2.50 rule. When you're shorting a stock that is under $2.50, you need $2.50 of collateral. So even though INND is at 1.48 pennies, for me to have been short, the most I have in my short selling account, I think, is 3,000. So for me to be able to trade a stock that is under 10 cents, I'm pretty much going to trade a tiny position. So here's something I've been learning. It seems like when I guess it's maybe just the way they trade, or maybe the market makers or something, but when a stock starts to look really desperate and it's trying so hard to uptrend or kind of break out of a range, like for an example, right here it was trying so hard to break past the 15.1. So right now we have the bid and the ask 144, 145, and if it seems like maybe the ask, like it's right there, and the bid is that close to the ask, and it's trying to uptrend. What it seems like is that the market makers will get rid of the guys at 145, and then it will keep the guys at 144, make it maybe 143, and then they put like 149, which is like a few levels higher, and then they kind of make a trade with a spread, and then people start hitting the ask, right? And it looks like it's starting to uptrend. And then eventually some yuppies probably jump in at the bid and they push it up, right? So that's a price action I've been learning a bit. It seems really manipulative because in an organic breakout, it's like 147 by 148, and then, you know, people are taking out the 148 and then 149, and then 147 becomes 148. Like, that's classic price action. But if it seems like they're not able to do something like that, if they're not able to push it up, kind of like what they're doing right now, honestly, you know, they eventually start to get rid of the people on the ask. They lift it up, maybe they make it 15-1, and then they have 147 at the other end, and then people start hitting 15-1, and then again some people jump in on the bid. So that's like a very weak way of trying to breakouts. I was watching this thinking maybe it can break this 15-1 level, but when I started to understand that price action that some of these people are doing, it just makes sense that it's just something that is still possible. They can still break out and do the move they're trying to do, but in terms of it being an organic or more like confirmed, that's something that is just less likely going to happen. So I think I'm learning a lot from this price action, and I also think that can help me greatly. I was interested in the breakout here at 143, but you know, sometimes I just get thrown off by the price action. But here's an example where they try to hold on to it a lot nicer compared to this mess right here, where you can see this red candle here. The bottom was 145 and the top was 151, where they're being desperate, you know, making a large spread, trying to make an uptrend, I guess. So if the bid and the ask is a lot closer together, it's more organic, it's more likely to be something that can actually turn around and, you know, make a move towards the upside instead of you know, failing. But that's the idea that, you know, I'm gonna start considering more just watching price action. But as for this setup here, this was a quick short position. This is not going to tell me anything, but again, I traded a small position because I can't trade large size with this. Look, now it's at 142. They've been kind of desperate trying to do that thing. Look, 142 by 147. Then somebody might hit that 147 a bunch of times, and then people start jumping in at the bid. And look, they're trying to save it. I think that's just something brand new that I'm really starting to actually now realize after looking at this for so long. Is 14 gonna hold? It's right at VWAP. It might try, but that's not looking too nice so far. But at least for now, it's trying to hold itself together. That's kind of cool. Oh look, there we go. 139. Yeah, that was a big bidder there at 14. Now it's at 139. If it's the same person. Yeah, they're trying so hard to save it. I think maybe this is just, you know, tinfoil hat, whatever, conspiracy. But my entry was at I don't think I really got. I got okay, I can go off of the price actually. I was short at 10.05 because it was, again, with the thing I was saying, trying so hard to break past 15. And it just did not work. I was actually considering a long setup, like a bull flag, but the way it was trading was so gross, I didn't really like it. But now I'm starting to think that it's just a bigger sign that it's going to fail. Although I can still do it. Again, like I said previously, I shorted at 10.05, which was right here, because it gave me a good entry. And the bid was at 149, and I got hit at 1497. So pretty much 15, very close to 15, 1497. I was short here, and I held on to it. And then when it kind of did this here, when it held the same level for 2 minutes, somewhat consistently, I thought, okay, You know, this thing could try to hold itself and try again, but look at this price action, the wide spread. I think that's going to help me learn, you know, in terms of whether the setup is going to continue the uptrend or fail if they're trying to do these weird games with the bid and the ask. And I did cover at 10.11, which was right here, and that was at 14.47, so close to 15. Right about here is probably when I covered in this green candle. And again, I was short at 10.05, which was right here, so I was short here and I covered about here, and that was a nice percent gain. Clearly it has more room to downtrend, and I did save myself from this jumpy price action, but yeah, I guess this is something I can, you know, take with me and keep going further, trying to be a better trader, reading price action better, just learning when they do stuff like that. And that kind of makes sense. WSRC continued to fail too, and it was doing the same mess, just trading a wide spread, trying to get it to push up, but it was just failing consistently. This was a nice downtrend. This one was also something I thought about shorting a little bit, not as much as INND, but you know, the issue with this one is that it's not shortable, at least on Schwab. INND was, and I was at 13.5, so I would have made like $1.47 or something like that. But yeah, that's pretty cool. And OTCs have been failing pretty disgustingly recently, so that was a really interesting setup. I made basically nothing, but I think I learned from it a lot. And just, you know, all of this price action manipulation, I'm probably gonna just, again, this could all be conspiracy tinfoil hat, but I think that's just a way they're trying to desperately push a stock up if they can't do it organically, which is just people hitting the ask and the bid is right behind it, maybe 1 or 2 ticks. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll make an update to see what this one does eventually. I was actually looking at this one, but I wasn't going to trade it because of the fact that I was in that position with INND. But PHIL is trying to make a move. I like how it's trying to show some consolidation, a slight uptrend here on the daily chart. This one did break out of the 65 level, and there was, I don't know, like a 10 million seller on the ask, and it eventually got taken out. That was impressive. It got to 67. It didn't do much more, but yeah, that one was pretty cool. It's not necessarily, you know, having the volume for it to do something where maybe it can do a new run up, but I'll make an update later. Just a really cool trade there. I didn't make anything because, again, that $2.50 collateral rule. For me to have traded for me to have traded a $150 position, I would have had to have had a $30,000 account, and that's a lot of collateral. So still, I think I learned a lot from that, and that's what I have for right now. Alright, it is 12:04 p.m. and I just got out of a trade with DWAC, and I've actually been watching this stock for a really long time. I've just been watching a YouTube video and just casually watching DWAC. I did see this I think since it was over here, and I liked how, you know, it's been up so much, right? And it had this little downtrend, and now in theory it had a green day here, a very small green day, but then this can be a continuation day, and I might have actually have sold super early too. But here was the idea, you know, we had this nice spike. This thing was downtrending. It has a spike, dips towards VWAP, which is nice, and then it has a spike. Okay, this is pretty cool looking, you know, and then it had another dip here. I thought about it a little, but I didn't like the price action, how the spread was, and you know, it had this little run up. I thought it could do more, but you know, it's just like a higher low playing off of VWAP again. So that was a setup from 71 to 73 best case, and then it had this little downtrend, and then it uptrended, and then it fell back again. And I thought, okay, this could kind of be like how this is a head and shoulder, shoulder, head, shoulder. I've said the head kind of had one and then a second spike, so it's almost like if it had two heads. So here's the shoulder, here's the double-headed, you know, section of the head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders here. And then when it had this little price action here holding above VWAP, you know, in theory kind of making like an inverse head and shoulders, here's a double head and then the shoulder. I thought, why not take an entry? And then I did think, okay, let me just trade a small position, $145 position. I'm in somewhere in the 71.90 level, and in theory, you know, it's definitely not going to work if the setup breaks 69. So I thought, all right, let me just give myself a very tiny like $4 risk or $5, like if there's some slippage. So $5 risk. I'm in at 71.86, 1201. So right here 1201, and you know, it even had like a little move showing that it was trying to uptrend. I liked how it was starting to uptrend. 71.86 was my entry, so right here, give or take right here, 1201. And I would have liked it if maybe the uptrending would have been gradual, kind of like here. It was uptrending, but we had these little candles that were a bit wicky, and you know, just something a little more gradual and confirmed than something just crazy. So, you know, it immediately started to work, and I sold at 1203, which was this green candle. Let me get rid of extended hours so it looks nicer. 1203, and it did seem like it was getting a little too accelerated, so I thought maybe the top is going to be close because of the fact that it's really accelerating in speed. And I sold at, again, 1203, 73.13. So right about here is when I took my sell. It did get as high as 73.50-ish. The top of the candle was what? 73.47. And I did sell here at 73.13. So give or take right here. Right? So I did sell here, and my buy was here. You know, just like an inverse head and shoulder, head, shoulder. If you look at the daily chart, it can be a reversal day, a first official green day. Sure, this was a green day because it held, but like you know, a nice big green candle day. And this thing can obviously continue the uptrend. This can be the right here inverse head and shoulder, second higher low. So, you know, shoulder, head, shoulder, and then if it tries to hold some level higher than here, it can make the higher low setup. And there's obviously resistance at 73.60, because that's like the neckline of the inverse head and shoulders. The neckline, it didn't break past it. If it was more of a gradual uptrend, I would have considered holding it longer, but I didn't like it. Now I can put up like a higher low again, and then I can continue to really make a move and maybe break the trend line, break the day high, and then best case scenario it finishes above that, and you know, maybe even has like a nice big green candle, some kind of a reversal. But again, I just didn't like how quickly it accelerated. Right now it's trying to find a bottom, and it's at least right now 72.50 could be a level it could hold. But I have a lot of work. I didn't finish catching up with yesterday's work, and I'll probably stop trading, or at least looking at the markets. It was just a tiny $2 because I did trade a small size. Not as small as my short setup with INND, but that was profitable. Not the best percent gain, but listed stocks are kind of like that, where you don't necessarily get a lot of nice big percent moves. I mean, this one is actually one that moves with a lot of range, but as for the, you know, inverse head and shoulders, it just got to the neckline. It could have broken that, and that would have made it super nice. But yeah, in theory, if I was going to trade it, I'm going to see if this thing can make a higher low off of this level. If it breaks below this level, this will be like the risk level. You know, maybe I would say right here, 71.14. So if it downtrends, you know, ideally it's higher than this range. But then if it's a double bottom, it could still work out. It's just less likely. And then if you get towards VWAP, okay, that's a little bit of a lower low. That's even less likely. But if it breaks VWAP, even if it's just a little bit, it's just going to be like a super low chance that the thing is going to turn around. So, in theory, you know, best case scenario, as long as it holds higher than this level, which is trying to, again here, give or take, this can be the second higher low, and then it can try to break this neckline level of 73.60, give or take, right? And then it can try to fight and see if it can get past the day high or something like that. This thing can totally do something like that. I really like my trade there. Like I said, I have a bunch of work to catch up with. I just finished watching that YouTube video I was watching, and yeah, I gotta get to work, but I'll make an update to see what this one does eventually. As for WSRC, faded. No 11 a.m. reversal setup here because it was only up one day. VTZI keeps downtrending. That's cool. Now it's at 10. Yeah, if this thing was more clean, I would have considered a short the other day. That's pretty cool, you know, risking off of this level, although that would have been kind of hard. But you know, if I trade like $140 position, you know, I lose $40 if it breaks the day high, not the day high, the range high of the entire run up. That wouldn't have been that bad. I mean, because the odds were in favor for it. Now it's at 10. That's pretty cool. So that's like what, a 30% move minimum. That's pretty cool. ILUS is just holding itself. I was thinking of a short at some point, but no, not really. This thing can, with its low volume, do a crazy move towards the upside. So yeah, that's all I have in INND. It did eventually hold this level, right? And then it continued the uptrend, but the volume isn't really that nice. I really liked my short, which was where was it? I think it was back here. And then I covered like right here. There was more room on the downside, but again, I couldn't short a large size there because of that that rule with you know, collateral, the $2.50 rule. It's at 73. It's trying to hold itself together. Let's see if it breaks the neckline. I'll make an update later. That's my idea with DWAC right here. Alright, it is 7:25 p.m. and I am here to call it off. Man, I made like what, $3. I didn't really make much today, but I think I learned a lot, and I definitely did catch up with all that work. I've been really behind since not just yesterday, but a few days before that. And yeah, it looks like this setup with DWAC offered a lot of opportunity for profit. Again, my entry was back here at 201. Trading this inverse head and shoulder, shoulder ahead, and then the shoulder, and then I liked how I held VWAP before here, and then this range here was higher than there, and then when it started to hold above it, almost the same range as this shoulder, it just looked really nice. I took the trade, and then I got out pretty quickly because I felt like the spike was a little too much, and I always want to try to sell ideally at the high of a range before it downtrends, in the event that maybe that downtrend ends up being a lower low, it breaks my risk level, or a double bottom, and then it kind of trades all weird, and maybe we don't get another opportunity to sell at that high anymore. But in this case, I was pretty right to have a risk level right at slightly below VWAP at the time, because this wick might have, I don't know if it would have scared me out of it, but it's going to depend on how quick the thing was. If it was maybe gradual, that might have been sketchy, but if it was immediate, I don't know if I would have probably have cut it if my risk level wasn't below VWAP. But that was a pretty interesting thing there. And yes, it did hold this level around the 72.50-ish, and then it actually made a higher level right here, and this would have been pretty nice to sell into. And then it did put up like a higher low off of this range right here, was a bit higher, and it did hold itself. And then this was kind of sketchy, but it did actually break the day high just briefly. It got as high as 77, so that's pretty cool. And then it downtrended, and this actually looks like a failed inverse head and shoulder head. And then here's a great example of one that doesn't work, and this is the classic listed stock, just big red candle that just flashes and wipes out, you know, your entire plan, and sometimes good luck with your risk level. That's why when I first tried that setup here, my risk level was it breaking actually here, which is why, you know, I just had a tiny size of just 2 shares. Maybe in theory, sure, I could have went 20 shares and I would have been risking, you know, instead of $4, maybe $40. But it did offer opportunity. It would have allowed me to maybe be more profitable. And in the future, I think I should try that, trading larger size, but I'll probably sell in pieces. I think that would help me hold on to a position longer. Honestly, if I wasn't selling here, if I were to have done something like that, and I see this, I'd probably be very quick to sell here, you know, maybe thinking that it was going to top out again, but it actually had that nice green candle there. And yeah, ideally I can keep developing unlisted stock trading, and I did also trade just a tiny position. I mean, really tiny, a small short position with INND, and that's cool. All right, so this one actually eventually continued the uptrend. It still has a wick because it kind of sold off at the end, but that's pretty cool there, and also a reason why you shouldn't be greedy, especially on a short setup, because the fact that it's shortable on Schwab just pretty much means that it's shortable in a lot of places, and then you know that could easily cause a squeeze. One of the main reasons why I think DWAC squeezed so much in the first run up, because it was easily shortable at most places, so, and that just causes a big squeeze. But my setup was shorting the lower high, which was what was it, give or take around that level, yeah, 1005, right about here, and then I covered here, and it actually broke lower, put up higher lows, I guess, and you know, for sure it tried the uptrend and work its way up. So that's all I have. I think I learned a lot, and it doesn't reflect how much I made but I think in the future maybe that can help push me to continue trading you know, more consistently, trying to be right on more setups, or at least setups that tend to offer a good risk reward. I clearly have a long way to go because I didn't really trade size once again. It's not like I'm able to on the short setup, but on the long setup with that listed stock, you know, those stocks are pretty liquid. It allows a lot of buys and sells, and yep, that's all I have. Again, didn't really make much, but I think I learned a lot, and I'd say today was a pretty good day, and I'm thankful for God for all the lessons.